Hello everyone, good evening or morning or day or wherever I meet you in your time zone. Today I have Eckhart in a special way, yes, talking about himself, his own way, his own time before his awakening moment and in what state he was. And yeah, really it's very, very interesting and watch, or not watch, but kind of watch, watch vocally, watch vocally how it feels, how Eckhart might feel during talking about this past, and you will sense that it doesn't feel good to him. And why I'm saying that, why I'm pointing that out. I'm pointing that out to make you aware that whenever you talk about something, that you are telling yourself a bad story. Like, for example, your childhood or your partnership, your ex partnership, or whatever it was. Sense how you talk about it and how you feel during your talk about it. And it's really crazy, but when you feel not good, then you know you're not in the truth of something. So what I mean is, it doesn't have to, it doesn't mean that it's not the truth you're telling, that you felt bad at that time. That is true, but the thing is that you felt bad was wrong. That was already wrong, that you felt bad. So you remember that feeling bad, and now you're repeating it. You're calling this feeling up by talking about this. Yeah, and why am I saying that? I want to make you become sensitive, a lot more sensitive for your inner state of feeling. And if you don't feel good, stop what you just did, because it's connected to your bad feeling. Okay? That's all I want to say for now, before Eckhart's experience of his awakening process, and also before that awakening process, the time period or the moment that he was in at that time. Yeah. And afterwards I will add a few more very helpful and useful impulses, impressions, just things that come through me by my own experience and by the experience I have with having coaching sessions with people where we go very deep, and that gives me also so much information that I can use and to share, because sharing is caring. I love that. I really do. So have a wonderful talk now with Eckhart, a very special one, this time. And yes, relax and just observe the feeling that Eckhart is going through from the beginning to the end, and observe it and experience and compare it to your own being, how you can feel sometimes in a bad mood, and how you could change that by thinking differently and talking about different things. Just talking about something wonderful makes you connect to that feeling that you had and feel it right away, although you are not experiencing it right now, but you're talking about it. So look how easy you can take your body with you. Take your body and your emotions, feelings with you into a visionary, just thought created and experience that is not actively happening, just by memorizing it. So practice this more. Think of wonderful things more. Think of feeling well, and what produces that. What kind of thoughts would produce me feeling well, and then do that. Practice it. That's all from my experience. And if there's a bad feeling coming up, no, you're not right. Feelings, thought. Sorry, you can go. I will choose a thought that makes me feel good. And I could tell you more and more, but I will stop now. Yes, okay. I will let you listen to Eckhart's wonderful story now, and then later talk more. Take yourself the cup of tea or a warm cup of water and a nice blanket, a cozy place, and then lean back and relax. Take some breaths and just listen. Talk to you later.
I can't live with myself any longer. Several years of inner states of anxiety and depression in my 20s, and even at university. I got to university late because I didn't have any qualifications initially. I left school at 14. So later in England, I got the qualifications to get into university. I was already in my early 20s and I had a full-time job at the same time. And at that time, gradually, the depressions and a lot of states of high anxiety also started. I did very well at university in my degree course, and I worked very hard. I wasn't aware of that so much at the time, but later on, years later, I met somebody who was a student at the same time in a different faculty, but he observed me and he said, "Oh, you were always working. You were working till midnight in the library," and I couldn't believe it. And then I realized, oh yeah, I must have been working very hard. But the motivation was fear, anxiety of not doing well. So it wasn't enjoyable. I was motivated by anxiety. And that came to a head after I graduated. I did very well. I was happy for 2 or 3 weeks. And then the anxiety and depression came back, even worse than before. So that night came. I was living in a little bed-sitter, as they call it in England, in London. I had finished my university course and didn't know what to do next. And that night I woke up again in the night with a very active mind. But at that moment, of course, I was my mind. I didn't know that there was an active mind, because I was the thought processes that kept me awake and were telling me how many reasons I had to be in a state of fear. the uncertainty of future, what am I going to live on, am I going to make it, and so on. Unhappiness with who I was as a person, inadequacy, and so on. So there was this incessant mind activity that during that night again, creating an enormous amount of anxiety to the point of breathlessness, and feeling completely cut off from the outside world, meaning alien. It seemed alien when I remember looking at objects in the room. They seemed completely alien to me. It's only later, years later, I read a novel, I don't remember much of it, but a similar feeling was described there, and I recognized it. It was by Jean-Paul Sartre, and the novel was called La Nausée, nausea, existential anguish, and so that was how I experienced it. So intense unhappiness and fear, and then the thought came as I was lying in bed that the burden of living was too much. I didn't want to do it anymore. I can't, and so the thought arose, I can't live with myself any longer. That thought repeated itself a few times, and then a moment came when I became aware of that thought as a thought. And the thought then said, is that I can't live with myself? What does that mean? There must be two of myself here, because if I can't live with myself, who am I and who is the self? There was a sudden, I was looking at that statement that my mind had created, I can't live with myself, and I saw the strangeness of it. I had separated myself in two, and so I saw, who am I and who is the self? And that question, that was the last thought, the last significant thought before the awakening experience. This last significant thought posed a question, and that question was, who am I and who is that self that I can't live with? Is there one or two here? Am I one or two? That was the last thought. And the answer to that question did not come as a thought. The answer to that question, I didn't know at the time, by the way, that this is what was happening, but I can explain it now. I couldn't have explained it then. The answer to that question came not as a thought, but as an inner stepping back from thought, an inner disidentification from thought. And so I suddenly realized, but not through analytical thinking, that that self that I couldn't live with had no actual reality. That was the unhappy self. So its illusory nature was recognized, but not through thinking, the self is really illusory. No, the illusory nature was recognized as in direct recognition beyond thought. I could see that it is nothing, but without saying that mentally. So, am I one or two? The last question led to a disidentification from the me, the unhappy me, the whole sense of self that was burdened with unhappiness and fear and anxiety and inadequacy and so on. So that self kind of dissolved, that because I must have withdrawn completely my identification with it. So I stepped out of the mind-created self, and what remained was myself as consciousness, but not as the unhappy me. And so the unhappy me began to get shaky, and then something happened to it. It must have, in its final stages, I think there was I felt almost disappearing into some black hole, because it was a kind of death experience. It was the death of the unhappy me. And so the perception of that, it wasn't so much visual as more like a feeling that I was disappearing into some hole. And there was still some fear left there, anxiety of what's happening to me. And then, but I heard a voice, again, not as an audible voice, but more as a realization, don't resist, or resist nothing, I think it said. And so I just let go, and then a kind of void opened, but not a visual one. And I don't remember much else. I must have gone to sleep soon after that. So there was am I one or two, was the question that arose. I can't live with myself. That question brought about an inner separation between the mind-created self and the consciousness that had identified with it, that was fueling it. So the consciousness that had created this dream-like figure or self stepped out of it. And so I realized, yes, I was two, the self and I, but only one was real. And so the consciousness that I am was real, and the unreal was no longer being sustained by my identification with it. I'm explaining it now, but I couldn't have explained it then. It just happened. It took several years, I don't know how many, maybe at least 7 or 8 years before I could have explained it in the way in which I'm explaining it now. The next morning I awoke. At first I didn't even remember what happened in the night. So my eyes opened, and the first impression was of everything being fresh and new around me. Although it was the old familiar room, everything felt alive, everything was amazing, and even simple objects, their very presence was lovely to look at. The light coming through the curtains, I knew it was alive. And most important of all, a deep sense of peace inside. So I was looking at everything through the peace. And I thought, wow, it's wonderful. I picked some things up and looked as if I'd been born into this world for the first time. And of course I can give an additional explanation now, which I couldn't have done then. I wasn't bringing the past into my sense perceptions. There was just the sense perception without the labeling of the sense perception. There was just a peaceful background to it. And I wasn't calling it anything. It wasn't the old familiar objects in the room, because the old familiar self wasn't there anymore. There was only consciousness there, a field of consciousness. And that day I took a bus and went into downtown central London, and the same, in the middle of the traffic, watching the people, and then getting off the bus, walking around the city. This incredible sense of peace. And I thought, well, this is amazing. Today I feel so peaceful. But then the next day it was there still again, the peace. Then I actually got a notebook and I wrote down something important has happened to me, but I don't know what it is, but I'm just going to write down these things because I might lose it again and forget about it, forget what happened. It's not an experience as such, because an experience is something that is added to you, one could say. When you experience something, it's something new that is added to your life. One might call it a life experience. But this is definitely not a life experience, and it is the opposite of something being added to you. So in that sense, it's the opposite of an experience, because instead of something being added to you, something is being removed from you. So something that before was heavy and looked substantial is something dissolves rather than something being added. And it leaves behind something that, again, is not entirely new but had been obscured before. So it's not an adding onto, and that perhaps is even for spiritual seekers an important thing to consider, because many people are looking for some spiritual experience as if it were something that can be added to them, and that's not how it is. In that sense, one could say it's a negative experience. Or you could say it's a loss rather than a gain. But it's a beautiful loss. But in the transitional moment of loss, it can still be painful, because it is a kind of death. You lose something, but what you gain is not something that comes, that just it emerges, had been there before always, your essential reality, but it's not added on.
Yes, thank you very much, Eckhart, for your experience and for sharing it so detailed. It's really wonderful, because also it reminds me of my awakening moment that I had 3 years ago. And it's crazy, but it's different, but still it's the same. And if you guys out there had that experience before, you probably can connect to Eckhart's way of awakening, but also, like me, in a different perspective, because we all awaken in a different way. Yeah? And it's so funny. Eckhart is explaining it really like that he even could only talk about and understand what happened 7 years later, because then he probably started to read and to educate himself about personal and spiritual growth. To me it was a little bit different. I was not in the mood of I can't live with me anymore. Absolutely not. I was more in the questioning of why and how did I deserve this life, or this more like that. No, but it's even a little bit different. I had always this question in my head of why am I here? What am I? I'm not worth to be here. I'm a human being, and we human beings are so bad. I always weighted all the how do you say, all the pain and the bad things we as human beings are doing to the world, to people, to animals, to all this. It really broke me down often. Although I lived a life of not making me guilty, all this guilt that is on our shoulders. I felt that pressure of this humanity guilt often very heavily. And I myself was for years closing me up to live my life, actually, because I was so afraid of causing guilt that I rather hide it myself and stepped out of the life and stepped back. But I was suffering a lot. I was so alone. Loneliness was a very deep thing. I was going out of country, living abroad, all alone by myself, without a boyfriend. I decided to, no, I'd rather not have a partner. I will make him unhappy because I might leave and go again, and because I'm not certain and sure, I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna stay there or travel to another place. And I was constructing in my mind all kinds of stories that would put me away from connecting to people, because I was constructing guilt. I was always constructing guilty to be alive. it was so strong that I felt like I'm so guilty to even just be alive, because by being alive I already have a cause and effect. I make a cause and result in an effect, and that really made me crazy, that thinking. And then I started thinking I will probably not grow very old, because I have lived quite a good life, did many things that I would like to do. I fulfilled many dreams. I didn't have so many. I had only a few, and I fulfilled them. And I really thought, what else should there come? And then this guilt feeling of relationships, of having people too close in my life, even friends, and I kept many people, many years, people away from me. And I know that that now, of course, why I did that, as I was not wanted. My mom I was the second one. My brother was already not wanted from my mom, but she even more didn't want at that time. So I already probably being in her belly, I already got this energy of I shouldn't be there, and I didn't realize that this is a connection. And to be honest, you don't even have to know if this is a connection or not, but if you know you have a kind of a guilt feeling, you know that it has something to do with a belief that was implanted into you, that you shouldn't be there or that you are not wanted. But it had nothing to do with you, and you have to know also this. It had something to do with a life situation that person was in. So your parent was in. My mom, she didn't want me because of me. She didn't want me because she didn't feel like being a good mom, being able to be a mom, being able to handle all this, 2 children, and then this father, there was a lot of aggression between my parents, a lot of as I was in a very young age, I remember strong fights. Later on not, but anyhow, what I wanted to say is, you don't even have to know where this started, but if you know that there is some program running that makes you feel not playing your part in life as you maybe could be, but telling yourself stories about how you know you could but you don't want, or you shouldn't, or even you feel guilty, and so you better don't show yourself, you better don't show feelings, you don't show how you are, how you really feel, because you don't want to give anyone else a bad feeling, or a feeling of pressure or whatever, all this you can decide to not feel anymore, or start with this thinking, that you stop thinking that you are here. And it's such a, and this is what happened to me in my awakening process. I was walking, to me it happened as I was walking for 2 hours every morning to a seminar house. I decided to do that, to go for a walk always every day, rather than taking a car or taxi to that. And there it happened. Yes, I really, I started a strong self-talk during these walks, and it came all into the direction again of this question, do I want to be here or not? And I had that a few years ago, where I had an accident, kind of, where I was dehydrated, and I passed out, and then I found myself in a hospital, and I was not able to move or to do anything, and I had never been in a hospital before. It was such a shocking moment to me that I was not able to move my body anymore with my own wanting, willing, and strength, that it really hit me, and I had the feeling of a question there already. Is this meaning to be here, to be asking me if I want to live or not? If I have to make that decision now? Do I have to do that decision now? This question was coming up in my mind at that time. I remember very well. And I remember that in that moment where I asked myself this question, is this now the moment where I'm asked if I want to live this life or not? And I was really sad about that this question came into me. And then in that moment, a very beautiful, pretty, and very empathic, ambulant man came, looking up to me and making a joke with me, and that answered my question. That was such a wonderful moment, because then I started laughing right away and looking at him, and really the thoughts that came were such as, look, there is this angel have been sent to answer that question. Such a wonderful, beautiful man. Yes, there are beautiful men out there, don't worry. And such empathic and how do you say that? Just feeling how you feel and what you need right now. So don't worry, it's all okay. You will. Yeah, that was a very nice, wonderful moment. Yeah, that I just needed in that moment, huh? Yeah, so, but later on, that was then past, years ago. And then I had this walking mornings years later. And the question came again on this walk. Okay, why is this question coming again? I talked to myself, why are you coming again? You question, this is so crazy, I don't want this question anymore. I want this to be answered for the good, for the final, and never ever have to reply to that question again. So I was really shouting at myself. And then I realized that this question is wrong. The question already is wrong, because I am. If I would not have wanted to be, I would not be there. Hello, I am there. So this question is not necessary, is a completely stupid question, paradoxal question. I am here, so I made up my mind. Some time ago, I decided I am here, and there I am. So now, and I made that decision from then, and in that moment where I realized that this decision is not meant to made in a lifetime. It is made far more before that. And when you are already alive, you are alive. So just use this life, do this life, live this life. Because you decided it, you are here. Take that part in this life that you have said yes to. There is no change of mind. You are here. So face it and do it and live it and make the best out of it. Yeah, that was really, really enlightening. And this is what Eckhart is saying. There, what happens, and it happened then. It happened then later. There were other questions, I will tell you. But he tells me, he's talking about that he got lighter. It got from heavy to feeling light because there was something gone, something died. Something was taken away, giving space, giving room for something that was, and he said the same thing, that was always there, but it had no room to expand in you. Yeah, and this is what happened then as well. I started asking myself, okay, I'm here now, so why am I here? What should I do? What is the reason? And then I got this answer that I was questioning so often to me. I finally got this answer. And it was feeling the most wonderful feeling ever. And that's the same feeling that Eckhart is explaining that he had as he was then, after his experience, waking up in the morning for days, and I don't know, still, this peace inside, because something died and gave room for something new. And my question, my answer was, and I could feel it as it was a thought. The thought and the feeling came at the same time into me. So the thought was, you are love, you are light. This was the only us. And I thought, that's simple. Oh my goodness, that's very short and simple. Not more, not less, not more. That's the question. That's the answer. Love and light. And I really, from this, and then the feeling came to it, came with it, that lightened and fulfilled me of love light feeling through all my cells. It was so intense. It was like a huge soda water sparkling all over my body, from inside, like a champagne bottle. I was feeling like a champagne bottle, and that was so beautiful. I had to even open my arms, hold them up to the sky. It was a sunny day that day, and I really felt this wonderful love and light, and that I just am. And I really said, thank you, that I finally got this answer. And I was so, all this heaviness got away of all these questions and bad feelings and guilty feelings and thoughts of, I won't get very old because I don't know what this life shall more bring me. It was like a reborn moment to me. The next day I told everyone, I will turn 138 because I got born new at the age of 38. I'm newborn, so another 100 years more. And I was just, and the answer was, you are love, I am light, and my purpose is to just be that light, be it, and shine. And through that shining, touch others with this shine. And you don't have to do anything. It's just you shine, and the others. The others are there. You can only shine, And this is nothing that they told me, but or someone told me, or whatever. But it was so clear that it's just about me being shining, but through my shining, being a light for others, being a help for others, and not by doing. And that was so important, not by doing or by trying to help others. No, by just being my light, being the light. And that was really also so taking so much pressure off me, because I remember in that moment as well, I was always so much fighting to help my parents get along with each other. I was having many arguments with my dad, was fighting with him often, and he was hurting me a lot when I was trying to explain to him something. And I meant it from the depth of my heart in a true, helpful way, but it was not asked, I was always doing this because I felt like I have to, but the others, my dad in this case especially, he didn't want to hear that. He didn't want to face it, and especially not wanted to get it told by his daughter. He was really so hurt by himself from his past that he couldn't stand it that his daughter would tell him truths that he didn't want to face. And that's why he then hurted me to not having to face it. And that's why I got this answer: don't do anything, just shine, just be yourself. You don't have to try to awaken people by talking to them, by giving all this effort of talking, of showing them, and of explaining yourself and all this. No, just be the light. So I want to encourage you. No, I want to not. You hear, huh? I already realized now. I just am. I'm telling the story. And this is already enough to connect you with it and to give you whatever light beam of all these light beams I just sent it out, whichever light beam was meant to hit you. That I cannot, it's not in my power to decide which kind of light beam from me you receive, or you let yourself allow, or you are able of allowing to be soaken up or to be implemented into your belief system, or into your system, just your system, we can say. So it's all your own life, and you decide every time what you let in and what you block out. Yeah. So, yeah, how wonderful. I love to also talk about this experience, as it was really a very intense experience. Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed this talk and these two stories of awakening processes, of these different types of awakening processes. And please be aware that everything is okay, and every phase you are in is okay. The more and the easier and the faster you accept the feelings you have, the thoughts you have even, the easier they hop on and don't get stuck in you. The easier they just come as a wave, but also go like a wave. Huh? Yeah. And everything, no matter what, is okay. Huh? No matter what situation you're in. No matter if you have some addictions to certain whatever it is. Take that focus away from it. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Take the focus away from, I am addicted to. Take it away. And just put your attention to what gives me really true inner joy. Okay, then I do that. And what gives me more joy? Okay, then I do that. What could give me now more joy? Okay, I do that. And often, 95%, the question is better when you say, what should I think to feel better? What should I think? How should I think? Trust me, it's like maybe not even 1% that is really outside to be said, okay, what should I do, or how should the situation be that I feel better? No, it's 99% even. What should I think about a certain whatever? What should I think? And also, from Byron Katie, the work, to question your thoughts. When you're struggling with something that is, tell yourself, should this really be? What if it should not be? What if I could take that should thought away? What would be left over if I would not be able to think, he shouldn't do that, or he should do this or that? what would you be? Who would you be without this sword? That's another wonderful approach. Yeah, so now I let you go and relax, maybe even more a little bit, listen some wonderful music, or just go and do your next thing you have to do in your everyday life, and do it with joy. And always remember, you are the lottery win in your life and the life of all the others around you as well. Yes, you are. And whenever you like, you can have a wonderful free session with me. I already had 2 sessions, and the third one is on its way to be timetabled, time managed. Yeah, and take the chance, enjoy it, and use the gift you've been given to. Look me up on Instagram or Facebook with the name Juliana Apple and JA Coaching, and then you will find me, and just then write me what times are good for you and which time zone you are in, because we are not on the same time zone, my dear. Yeah, and then I'm looking forward to meeting you and to having this wonderful coaching session. Yes, have a wonderful day now, or evening or night, or whatever time is over there where you are.